Hello, my precious friends. I really hope that you are doing great. Welcome to today's class. So today we want to make x the subject of the formula ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So in order to achieve that, we are going to use what we call the completing square method, whereby the first step is to ensure that the coefficient of x squared is 1. So to ensure that, we are going to divide each and every term by a, so over a to ensure that the coefficient of x squared is 1. So of course the a and a will cancel out, so I remain with x squared plus b over ax, then of course plus c over a, which will be equal to 0, because 0 over a will just give you 0. The second step in the completing square method is usually to take the value of c to the other side. So I'm going to have x squared plus b over ax, of course, is equals to negative c over a. Of course, negative c over a plus 0, you just get negative c over a. Now, the third step is to add the value of b over 2 squared on both sides of that particular equation. So our b over 2 squared, remember the value of b is usually the coefficient of x. Therefore, our b in this particular case is this particular term, which is the coefficient of x. So our b is b over a, then of course it is b over 2 then squared. So over 2, then of course we are squaring it. So our value of b in this particular case is b over a. So I'm taking b over a, then divided by 2, of course, divided by 2. So this is the same as saying b over a. Then, of course, we know whenever you divide, you multiply by the reciprocal. So multiplied by a half, then squared. So this will simply be equal to b over 2a. Then, of course, everything is squared. So you want to add the value of b over 2a on both sides of this particular equation here. So I'm going to get, then of course, when we add b over 2a squared, the terms having the coefficient of, that is the b over a, will simply naturally disappear. So I'm going to add this one on both sides, but because I've already used the value of b over 2a, that is over 2 in this particular case, this term is going, because it is already used here, it is going to disappear from the equation. So I'm going to have x squared plus my b over 2a is of course b over 2a, then of course squared, then is equal to negative c over a. I also add b over 2a, of course, squared on both sides of this equation. Then from here, I'm going to, because I have squared and squared here, I'm going to factor out so that I simply remain with x, then plus b over 2a, then of course everything is squared, will be equal to negative c over a, then plus, I'm going to open this square, so I'm going to have b squared divided by 2 squared is 4, a squared of course will be a squared. So from here, I'm going to, the LCM on the right hand side, of course, is 4a squared. So a goes into 4a squared, that is 4a times. So 4a times negative c, I'm going to get negative 4ac. Then of course 4a squared into 4a squared, it goes there one time. 1 times b squared, I'm going to get positive b squared. Now I'm remaining with x plus b over 2a squared being equal to, of course, this is negative 4ac, then plus b squared over 4a squared. Then I'm going to take square roots on both sides. So I'm going to square root this side. I also square root the other side. And remember, the square root of a number is always a plus or minus. So this will be, of course, the square root will cancel with the square. So that I remain with x plus b over 2a being equal to. So on this other side, I'm going to have a plus or minus square root of, I'm going to start with b squared because it is the positive one. So this is the same as saying b squared minus 4ac divided by 4a squared. Then remember, this square root simply means that we can square root the numerator and the denominator independently, such that I'm going to have x is equals to, that is, I'm also going to take b over 2a towards the right hand side, such that it becomes a negative 2a. So this will be negative, of course, b over 2a. So negative b over 2a. Then, of course, I have plus or minus square root of this. So plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac. Then, of course, over 4a squared over 4a squared. So this is the same as saying that we have negative b over 2a then plus or minus. So this square root simply means I can square root the numerator and the denominator independently. So this is the same as saying the square root of b squared minus 4ac, then of course divided by the square root of 4a squared. So this is the same as saying negative b over 2a plus or minus, then of course this will be the square root of b squared minus 4ac, 4ac, then of course over the square root of 4 is 2, then the square root of a squared will just be a. Now you can see we have a common denominator. So this is the same as saying I can factor out the denominator, which is 2a. So of course 2a goes into 2a one time, 1 times negative b. I'm going to have negative b plus or minus. Then of course 2a into 2a, that is 1 time, 1 times this term, I'll just get the same term. So plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac. Therefore, so my value of x will simply be equal to negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac, then divided by 2a, which is actually what we call the quadratic formula.